on my way in today that, the topic is awake, aware, and alive, right? And as I stepped into the building, I could feel this aliveness, right? And I looked around, and everybody around me, right, and people are stopping at the booth, everyone looks like they're on their way. And Robin and I were speaking before. I said, the people who are asleep aren't here. The people who are down right there, right? The people who are unaware, they don't want to come to the fitness center. So the fact of the matter is that you are someone, individually and us as a group. And we're already on our way, which is really good, right? So I really want to acknowledge you for that. In our time together this morning, we'll be doing three things. One, we'll be doing some guided practices, right? We'll be doing two of those. I'll be introducing some ideas, okay? And then we'll have some time for questions and answers. So while you're sitting here for the next 30 minutes or so, I want you to really be thinking about, I don't know, any questions you have. Okay, because I really, if there's any questions you have, whether it's about my work, the Akashic records, your own journeys, this is the opportunity to raise those questions, but not just yet. Why don't we start with a brief centering meditation. So if you would join me by closing your eyes, opening your awareness. Let yourself get a sense of you being here. Right? You're actually here this morning. Right? No matter what's happening in your life, and we know it's a lot. We live in very accelerated times. Okay? But this is the time for you to be with you in a more conscious way. Nice. And now if you would, direct your attention to the soles of your feet. Your feet on the floor, right? If you get your feet on the floor or close to it. Wonderful. And you will notice that there is a precise place, a location, that in this moment is dedicated to you. You share this space with no one. It is for you. There is a space that you occupy. It's really you, and you alone. And the truth is that who you are is sufficient to hold that space. And now, if you would, almost as if you had eyes, right? Eyes in the soles of your feet. Bring your awareness to really gaze within the earth. You, right? You on the planet. Good. And if you would, let yourself sink in just a little, in your mind's eye, maybe up to your ankle bones. Nice. And as you do so, all of the resources held within the earth itself that are dedicated to you, right, that are committed to you and who you are, and your destiny in this lifetime, all of those resources begin to move in your all of it within the earth, seeking you out and finding you here this morning. Through the soles of your feet and your conscious awareness. And all the emotional support you need. All of the kindness and respect and compassion that has been shared between people and among people throughout time, held within the earth, seeking you out and finding you here today. Yes. And ideas. If what you need at this point in your life is a good idea or clarity to move beyond confusion, right? All of the wonderful ideas that people have had since the beginning of time, infused into the very stuff of the earth, seeking you out and finding you here today. And so we stand, each in our own integrity, allowing ourselves to be supported by life in ways that make the critical difference for us today. Now, if you would, open your eyes and bring your attention into the room. Thank you. You know, I was thinking there are about 300 things I would like to share, but we don't have that kind of time, which is fine, actually. You know, so our topic here is soul food, right? Soul food, which is, and what we're doing is looking at nourishing ourselves through simple spiritual practices. All right? One of the things that I've noticed in my own practice, I work with people, I've been working with people since 1994. It is now 2011. And what I've noticed about the women I work with is that as a group, individually and collectively, we're givers, right? We're givers, we're nurturers, we're caretakers, we're wives and mothers and lovers and sisters. And each one of these, wherever we are on the game board, our very presence is giving. Okay? Now, this is the way it is. And I don't think this is going to change, right? I don't see a change coming on that in the future. And I know for myself and for so many of the people that I work with, we have tried to not give, right? I'm just not going to give so much. I'm exhausted, I've had it, forget everybody. I'm just not giving anymore. I'm done. But the fact is that we are generous people. And we have big hearts that sometimes get ahead of us. So the issue is, how do I nurture and sustain myself so that the spiritual well doesn't run dry and I can continue to give as a way to honor my own identity and really to dignify the people around me. Now, how the heck are we going to do that, right? Now, I know myself, I've heard a lot about self-love. I mean, even with my friends, they say, well, you know, we have to love ourselves more. Well, I'm like, well, what's that? Right? I thought for a while it was manicures. I really did. I did think it might have something to do with a good haircut. But actually, it's like, how do we get from the idea of self-love to the experience of self-love? Okay, like, what is that really? And how do we really do that? So, you know, myself, I'm out there looking for books on healing. And I read a lot of them. And they were all wonderful. But I couldn't adapt them. I couldn't apply, right, a lot of the guidance, right? It didn't make sense in my life. I have a partner, I have a son, I've got the aging mother, a life. So, how to do this, right? How to move into real healing. And that has really been my personal search and the topic of my second book, which is this healing through the Akashic records. Using the power of your sacred wounds to discover your soul's perfection. And that's what this book is about. It's about healing patterns of self-abandonment, okay? Self-abandonment, self-rejection, being hard on ourselves. How do we do that in a way that really makes a difference? I think there's a couple things I want to say. First of all, this word, the Akashic records. Has anybody heard this word before? I know, isn't that right? Here's the big deal. It's a Sanskrit word. It means primary substance, that from which all things are formed. Okay? Very fancy word for a very familiar dimension of healing consciousness that is characterized by kindness and respect, compassion and wisdom. Okay? You're all familiar with it. We've all bumped into it, right? Unknowingly, it's part of who we are. And my work is about supporting people in accessing this dimension, right? Consciously, responsibly, and deliberately. So that's what the Akashic record is. But what about the sacred wound, right? What's that, right? So here was my observation. We all have injuries. It's part of the human experience, right? We get injured all the time, right? Whether people mean to hurt us or not, it happens. No one gets out without getting clobbered in some way, right? It's just like it's been happening. This is the beginning of time. This is what happens. Traditionally, what we've done with our injuries is we have used them as evidence of our unworthiness, right? As a way to be separate from ourselves and other people, right? Almost as if they're a weapon to be used against ourselves. In this work that I've really been so, blessed with, what I've discovered is that the same injury can be used as a portal, right, as a point of contact to make contact with my own innermost self, right? So that the same, and so it can be used either to get away from myself, right, or to unify, to get with myself, and then to get with other people as well. So injuries are injuries. They don't change. If someone punched you in the nose or called you a name, that really happened. Our choice is, what will I do with this, right? Will I use it against myself? Will I use it against you? Or will I use it for myself? Okay, and it's a way to be in a more conscious connection with others. So that's really the heart of the work. Now, here's this other thing I noticed. Women are particularly hard on themselves. Anybody here have an issue with self-criticism? I mean, we are like, oh my God, enough already. There's nothing, I used to think that was spiritual. I thought the harder I could be on myself, right, the more I would have, divine moments. What I found is that I felt bad all the time. I don't feel bad about almost anything, right? Because the criticism, the punitive consciousness, right? The idea that it's good to suffer and feel terrible. I come from that, right? And the problem with that is that, first of all, it's not helpful. There is nothing spiritual about putting ourselves down. This was news to me. I don't know. Maybe you guys already know this. I didn't know this. Anyway, so the work is, how do I move from having a relationship with myself that is really anchored in self-abandonment? Things happen, and the knee-jerk is, well, I'm just going to get away from myself. I'm going to get away from my feelings. Self-rejection and self-abandonment are always a good idea. Okay? Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. We're not stupid, right? But if we're being heard, sometimes the best thing to do is to kind of get away for a minute. But then we have to come back, all right? One of the things that we see with self-abandonment in all its forms, right, whether it's minimizing ourselves, denying ourselves, pretending we don't have needs, pretending we don't want what we want, right, then there's no way we can be happy, okay? And it reduces our effectiveness in our own lives and with the people we love. And so the challenge is, right, how do I change this, right? How do I shift this relationship? So the one thing I found very helpful and lay it out in the book is this 4-stage protocol for transforming our relationship to ourselves, okay? And the first level is awareness, okay? You guys have the awareness part, yes. Okay. The second part is acceptance, okay? Self-acceptance. Now, I used to think it was like putting up with myself, right? Like tolerance. Tolerance doesn't come close. We're talking about unconditional self-love, all right? But how do we do that, right? How do we really do that? And so one of the ways we can do it, and I really have come to understand this as a spiritual practice, right? And a spiritual practice, you know, is anything that we do that makes us more conscious of the divine reality. Whatever you call it, doesn't matter, right? So a practice is something we do with some regularity that enables us to be more aware than usual of the divine presence, okay? So here's the spiritual practice of unconditional self-love, okay? That practice is, no matter what, to say to ourselves, to get on our own side and say to ourselves, well, of course. Okay, so, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but, you know, sometimes I wake up and I realize that my jeans are too tight. Okay? So I have two choices there. I can either go into the, you know, how terrible, and oh, you know, I should eat the cookies, and, I mean, the whole litany of self-torment, right? Or I can get with myself and say, oh, honey, of course you ate the cookies. I mean, of course. Of course, no wonder, they were good, right? Of course, I ate the cookies. Of course, I gained the weight. Okay, oh, of course, no wonder. Given where I come from, it's not a surprise. You know, when we make mistakes, we go into shock. Like, how could I? You know, especially like learning how to speak up for ourselves. I mean, this is a collective challenge. I mean, our ancestors don't know how to do this. We're the ones who are figuring it out, and it's not easy, right? But when we were first learning, it's like, oh, I should have said that, and why didn't I? And, you know, the whole bit. But the fact is, I mean, of course I didn't say what I wanted to say. I was raised to not say what I wanted to say. I mean, I don't know about you, but, you know, we all have this conditioning. So, of course, no wonder. The opportunity is to get with ourselves and stay with ourselves in any and all circumstances. That is really the most spiritual activity, right, that we can be involved in. Giving ourselves the kindness and respect that we're hoping someone else gives us. You know, then we go out in the world. Okay, nobody's home, right? We've been yelling at ourselves for, you know, how many decades? Putting ourselves down, putting ourselves in our place, right? And then people try to give to us, but nobody's home. Nobody's here to receive. We feel unloved and exhausted. And the first step in this is that level of kindness and respect, right, compassion to others. And the challenge now is to give it to ourselves. So we can really continue to be, right, the people that we were made to be. That we are the givers. We are the caretakers. We are the nurturers, the sustainers. We are the lovers. And in order to continue in our destiny, we must learn to receive more than ever before. And the spiritual law has it. No one can give us what we cannot give to ourselves. Right? They may try, but we're not taking it. Right? And so we want to begin here. So what I'd like us to do now is we're going to do a little practice. But you have to have, I'll tell you what you need for this. You have to have a complaint about yourself. Do you have a complaint? Just one. Okay, we'll start with one. All right, now listen, let's be realistic. I mean, are we going to heal the whole complaint? I don't know. But we make no progress, because our growth is a process, right? We're growing into more health, well-being, happiness, right? Compassion and respect than before. So we want to be realistic, right? Because we don't want to. Anyway, you guys get it. All right, so you have a complaint. So what I'd like you to do now is to close your eyes. Close your eyes and get with yourself. You want to get in with your innermost self. This is an aspect of your soul. This is the part of you that knows, right? That knows the truth about your goodness. That knows that you really are one with the divine. Okay. So getting with yourself. From this place, if you would, take a moment to review the complaint that you have about yourself. The complaint, the criticism. Maybe you always do, I don't know, the wrong thing. Maybe you never do something. Maybe no matter how great the necessity or the wish, right, you are unable to motivate yourself to take certain action. Or perhaps you're just inconsistent. Whatever. Just take a look. Good. And now if you would, extend to yourself the kindness and respect that you deserve. Getting in there, say, oh, of course. Of course, honey, no wonder. No wonder you did that. And of course you didn't. It's all right. It's okay. These things happen. Excellent. And now, if you would reflect back to the time in your life when this behavior first started. You want to take a look at that. And you are likely to notice that when this first started, it was a very good idea. It was a good idea that you didn't speak up. You probably got in trouble. It was a good idea that you did eat all those cookies because, it made you feel better. Gave you some comfort. So we see that yesterday's solution has simply become today's problem. Because you have been growing and changing and evolving. just a little bit closer to your innermost self. Yes. And let yourself know in words that are most true for you. Of course. But you know what? It's okay. You cannot convince me that you are bad. I know that you are good. And I am here with you. And I am not leaving. There is no one I'd rather be with. And from that place, if you would open your eyes, bring yourself into the room. So now is the time in our program where we're open for questions and answers. Okay? So the floor is open. Please.
The issue of self-love, I believe, is one of self-forgiveness.
Do you know what this is? Isn't this interesting? Self-forgiveness. Forgiveness assumes we've done something wrong. But see, when we look, part of it is to get with ourselves to see that at the point where this was started, it was the best idea we had at the time. To get in there, it's like, well, of course, right? Because then that edge of judgment, right, dissolves. Energetically, it just kind of, right, it takes the steam out. Okay, so when we can accept that at the point of origin, every decision, every choice we've ever made has been really in an effort to take care of ourselves, okay, that, we want to be careful of what we're forgiving, okay, because I don't know that forgiveness is the issue. I think acceptance of the reality of who we are is really much more the issue. Now, we can say, yes, I did this terrible thing and I feel bad, and then we go out and we do the best we can to amend the error. But I don't know, I'm not so sure about this forgiveness. I mean, I wouldn't have done it unless it was the best idea I had. And that at the level of intention and motive, that the idea was to feel better, right, to improve a difficult situation. Yeah, so it's on the edge there. But I tend to lean more into that if we can move into, right, this unconditional self-love, I mean, what we really have to forgive. I leave that to God. I'm like, God, because God, right, that's where I go with that. But yeah. Well. You have a question? Chatting in the front row. All right. Yeah, please. Wait, okay. First, top and then in those stripes. Thank you. Please.
How do you incorporate these practices into your daily life?
Into my daily life, I'll tell you what. I walk around a lot saying, "Oh, of course, of course you did that," because listen. One of the things this is not news, right? But I'm always making mistakes. That's just the way. I don't even mean to. I'm like, oh my heavens, people will say, you really offended me. I'm like, oh my, I didn't even know. I am so sorry. I spend a lot of time, so on a daily basis, it's like to get in. I do this all the time, where I get in with myself. I'm like, oh, honey, oh, Lenny, of course you did that. No wonder. It's okay that you did that again. Okay, so that it's ongoing. But it's the third step in this protocol. So the first step is, we'll get to in a second. The first step step is this awareness. You know, there's somebody in here, right? Let's start there. Okay, so we have that. The second step is this, you know, this acceptance. Really, the idea of unconditional self-love. Because from there, our gifts, our talents and abilities are released, and we can use them. You know, condemnation, it traps all of our gifts, right? And then we're like, very, very difficult. Then the next step in the protocol is appropriate action. So the goal is to take actions that express the innermost self. Okay, so to collapse the gap between the true self, yeah, and what goes out into the world. So that's how that is. Thank you. Great question. Okay, please, and that's right.
What are some of the more common types of injuries that women feel the need to heal themselves from?
Oh. Roll up our sleeves, gals. Okay, so the first is, okay, that we get to be here. Worthiness, right? Okay, so the first, like, in consciousness is that, you know, this whole understanding that we're second-class citizens. You know, the idea that we're full citizens, this is a new idea in my lifetime. You know, I grew up in a household where my father didn't believe women should drive. All right, so let's go there. Right, so it's then, let's not. Okay, let's. But, you know, it's been a long, right? There has been so much change in the self-perception of women in the past 50 years. It's astonishing. It is unprecedented in human history. And it's not going to slow down. So the first thing is the fact that we get to be here and that there's nothing wrong. Right? We're really supposed to be this way. Who knew? Okay, so that's the first thing. The next thing is self-expression. Okay, that we are allowed, well, first of all, we're allowed to tell the truth. We're allowed to communicate. We're allowed to speak up. I don't know about you, but I know my grandmother was not speaking up. And it took my mother a long time. This is new. These are things that are so deep within us. And these are patterns that we incorporated so that we would survive. Right? Because we were not surviving if we said the wrong thing to the wrong person. Okay? So those are the most fundamental areas, issues. And then from there, we have all kinds of, you know, it just goes from there. Okay? And everything from difficulties in relationships. Right? Real difficulties in relationships, right? Issues of being subservient. But see, everything is based on the idea that we're not even so sure we're entitled to be here and take up too much space. Thank you very much. Unless we're helping in the kitchen, you know, which actually turns out is a lot of fun, right? But it's not fun until you get there. You know, if you're there by choice, it's great. If you're not there by choice, very unpleasant. Does that make sense? Yeah, wonderful. Who else? Please.
At the beginning, this is 4 steps.
4 steps.
I get 3.
Okay, thank you. You know what? Thank you very much. Okay, so the first is awareness, acceptance, appropriate action, not to be confused with inappropriate action. Okay, we all know about that. Okay, and the last one is honoring our soul's choice to be who we are. Living our lives, honoring who we are. Okay? So, and that's the one where we really, okay, so we do this inner work, right, but then we have to take it out the front door. And that's what happens really in the 4th step.
Could you say a little bit more about that word,
Akashic.
Yeah.
Akashic.
Can you spell
Yes. I know, I took a while. All right, now listen, it's A-K-A-S-H-I-C, Akashic. Akashic. It's a Sanskrit word, means primary substance. Okay, so what it is, it's the stuff of life before we get to it. With our good ideas and our feelings and our whatever. Okay, it's really the raw material of life. Okay, people have been working in the Akashic record. I don't know, when did they write Sanskrit down? It's a long time. Okay, people have been working the record. Mostly it's been men. All right, let's not go there. Mostly it's been men, and it's been in groups, which is quite interesting. Okay, it's been this sacred domain of mystics and scholars and saints, right? And so it's not a new, and this is also an interesting feature of the time we're in. We are in a time where ancient wisdoms, we're reconnecting with ancient wisdoms that can support us in this time. And this is one of those, right? And so the records were used, actually in the middle of the last century, there was, have you ever heard of Edgar Casey? Edgar Casey, they call him the sleeping prophet because he was unconscious. He was working in the records, but he was unconscious. Well, that was great, 60 years ago. Unconscious is not going to cut it right now. So now what we're working with, it's true, right? We gotta be awake. This is the real deal here. So the idea now is that we can work in the records consciously, responsibly, directly. And it is no longer the exclusive, right, world of mystics and saints and men and like that. That each one of us is entitled to a more conscious relationship with our own soul, and that we are able to be engaged, right, in a conscious relationship with our own spiritual authority. Especially as women, we have been victims of spirituality for centuries. We have been victims of it, and this is the time of the change, where we move into we take a conscious step to be awake to that presence that is within us. This is not new, it is not foreign, it is not separate from us. It is natural to who we are, and now is the time where we can engage this so that we live our lives following the light rather than being dragged around by it. So that's really, that's what it is, and my book, my first book, which is How to Read the Akashic Records. All right, now listen, do you love the art? I love the art. I don't want to paper my walls with these book covers. Anyway, we have a wonderful artist. But I just lost what I was saying. Well, there you go. Oh, here's what this is. Okay, here's what this is. This is the first, so this is How to Read the Akashic Records, right? Accessing the archive of the soul and its journey. This is the first how-to book ever published. I mean, it's published by Sounds True. This was not on my kitchen table. You know, this was by a real publisher. It's the first time in history that secular people like us can get their hands on a resource as simple as the records and to learn how to use this for ourselves. It is very exciting and wonderful. Anyway, so I don't know, I think this is it. Do we have more? Oh yeah, please.
I'm listening. Kind of spiritual exploration.
Yes.
This is a broad question, but I think a lot of the people who are raised traditionally Catholic.
Oh yeah, me too.
Is there any church?
No, there has nothing to do with the church. It has nothing to do with the church. Church is a religion. Religions are. I actually belong to a religion. I do. I was raised Catholic, but I'm no longer Catholic. But that's all right. And I went to Mundelein College, so I was, all right. But this is Loyola, and we all know about that. All right. Okay. Okay, here's the idea. Religion is for many of us, is an external structure through which we hope to gain an internal experience. Okay, it works for some people, it doesn't work for everybody. We're in a time now, we're looking for internal pathways, right? Internal structures that enable us to make conscious connection spirituality that lives within. Okay. Now, there are references to the Akashic record in the Judeo-Christian scripture, right? Psalm 129 talks about this, that in the book, right, everything was written. Okay? So there are references, I have them actually all cited in my first book, so you can look them up. But see, I don't know, and the case could absolutely be made that the Akashic record is in the realm of the Holy Spirit. Okay, so we can make the case for that. But, I don't know, I mean, if you need to, you can, but I don't know, the fact of the matter is, there is a spirit and presence within each and every one of us that has nothing to do with any house of worship or any text that we ever read. It is just part of who we are. And we are in a time where the opportunity, unprecedented in human history, the opportunity is that we move into a conscious relationship with that presence and live our lives right from the soul first. So, I think that's it for today. Thank you for a wonderful question.